All right, guys, welcome to another Tuesday at 11 live stream. Typically, I do these live streams all by myself. And kind of like I said in the promotion on Facebook and through email and all that good stuff, you guys get me. You guys know I'm going to be talking about raising capital. I'm going to be talking about finding deals. I'm going to be talking about sales and all that good stuff. But that's really only half the business, right? If you're fixing and flipping homes, if you're owning rental properties, if you're building apartment buildings like we're building, all the fun stuff is on the front end of the business, getting the deal locked up, getting the financing, getting the funding. But then once you do that, you actually have to make sure that the houses get renovated, that when a tenant leaves, you get the properties cleaned out. You got to make sure that you make updates to those properties. And you have to make sure that if you're building those apartment units, that they actually get built. So today, I'm going to be bringing on Jim Cook, who's worked with us now. I put there 5 years, Jim. Does that seem about right?
It's all in how you look at it. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we actually started partnering with Jim and his family, his brother and his dad, probably going back 10 years on fix and flip opportunities. But Jim is officially like 100% been with the company for probably five
Yep.
plus years. Jim's been in the business for over 20 years. And out of all of those things, raising capital, finding deals, and making sure that these projects get done on budget, on time, Jim's specialty is definitely doing the construction end of the business. So Jim is responsible within our company to make sure that the 100 to 130 fix and flip properties get done on budget, on time, to make sure that when we have a vacancy, that those properties get turned over, cleaned up. Whenever a tenant has any sort of construction issue or repair that needs to be made, he's handling that, and also is responsible for making sure that the new construction apartment units that we have coming out of the ground are also done on time, on budget. He's a wealth of knowledge. And as you guys know, this is live. So you can feel free at any point during this conversation to ask questions. I will see them in the chat box if you do have questions. But one thing that I did not tell Jim, I gave him kind of an outline of what we were going to be talking about today. And I gave you all an outline of the 10 things that we're going to be covering today related to construction. What I didn't tell him is we're going to do it kind of like lightning round, because I want to make sure that we cover all 10 things. Now, keep in mind, guys, if you're sitting here and you're listening as we go through these 10 construction bullet points, if you're sitting here listening thinking, hey, I wish I had more information, you should, because each one of these topics could be 3 hours in length. With that being said, if you guys want to meet Jim in person, you want to meet me and Jim and our team in person, and you want to ask Jim construction questions one-on-one, please make sure that you register for our event that we have coming up next Tuesday at the Sheraton Hotel in Framingham. It's from 11 to 2 p.m. And the link to register, we literally have 3 to 4 seats left. It's only a 50-person event. We can only fit 50 people in that room in the hotel. Register now, just so that you make sure that you reserve your spot. It is from 11 to 2. We are buying people lunch. It's not only a free event, but you'll also be getting food if you come. So make sure you register. And I'm going to give Jim 4 minutes. So I'm going to do a little 4-minute timer on my phone. And we're going to see how fast he can talk or think. So this is not just, measuring his expertise, but also how quickly he can do it. So it's kind of like a mini SAT for Jim. So I'm just going to go go down the line. Let me just open up my questions that I've got here. And these are in no particular order, but let's get it rolling. Jim, you got 4 minutes. Most common construction mistakes and how to avoid them. Go.
So I see with people that are new to the business, over improving a house by maybe taking down walls, opening up, going for that open concept. Once you open the walls, you're into electrical, plumbing, structural, flooring, paint, walls, things like that, and doing additions. Those are probably the biggest three that top of my head that come up. People do additions to houses that end up adding timelines of 6 to 8 months on their project.
And what do you think is causing them to over improve or to add, an addition or whatever?
Good intentions, but passion, I would say. It's new to that business, and they're excited, and it's their dream home that they're trying to build for somebody else instead of looking at it as a business.
So when they do that, because obviously doing an addition or over renovating, makes a much bigger project. I guess when you're going in to look at a property, how are you analyzing it to make sure that you don't over improve?
So you're looking at it based on a comp. So a couple of things there. I say it to people all the time when I'm helping them to get started with their first project, or even sometimes contractors, is you're not renovating your home. This is a business, and you're renovating to a comp. So a comparable property, something within, say, half a mile that sold within the last 3 to 6 months, same square footage, similar style home, usually isn't renovated. So when you're going in there, you're trying to decide, what do you need to do to make it look like the comp, or maybe slightly better? That's the goal. Making it look slightly better than the comp and you want to do that by minimizing demo, because every time you demo something, that significantly increases your budget.
All right. You nailed that one really quick. I give you credit.
Did I?
All right. Second thing, how to find the best contractors.
So, I hate to give the line trial and error, but to find the best contractors, in my experience, has been, when I say networking means you're using people that you trust, that you know, or that you found through social media, that a friend, family member has used in the past, a business associate has used in the past. That's worked. And a little caveat, I would say, whether this is your brother, your father, your mother, or someone you just met on social media, always put them in a contract. And it keeps family, and friends, and protects you against the person you just met. So finding the contractor, I think my best success finding contractors have been in two ways. One is reaching out to my suppliers. So you have vendors that you buy, that you've maybe used in the past, or you use currently for siding, roofing, lumber, whatever it may be, or even a lumber rep that calls you. You might not buy things from them, but they're trying to get your business, earn your business. Ask them who their best 3 framers are, and then meet those best 3 framers, or at least talk to them on the phone. And they're not going to refer you those best 3 framers unless they're really good, because they want you to buy their lumber. So keep that in mind. So suppliers, friends, family, social media. And then the last one, when I said the 2 that work for me, was suppliers, and then asking a vendor that I use today, or a contractor that I use today. So say the plumber. I'll ask the plumber, hey, who do you see on most of your jobs that's reliable, that does the electrical work? And they're not going to refer you someone unless they're pretty confident, because you're using them. So if they refer you someone bad, it looks poorly on them. So they're gonna either say, I don't have anyone I'd refer, or you could try this guy. He's been on my last 3 jobs, finished on time, shows up, good guy or good lady, whatever.
And then you said, trial and error. Obviously, we want to try to prevent as much of that as we can. And, by getting referrals, that's going to cut down on the error part.
Yep.
Is there anything that you do out of the gate, like for screening, that also maybe cuts down a little bit on the error part?
So picking one word, accountability. So if you're chasing them to have a phone call with you, or meet you, or send you the proposal, if you got to that point, if you're chasing them for the price or the scope, or agreeing to your scope of work, or maybe they have some other ideas, I would not call them more than twice, or text them more than twice. If you have to do that now, what do you think is going to happen when you're doing the work? So holding them accountable to the expectations that you set up front, and then monitoring that. That's I think the best you can do up front. You've already checked maybe references or jobs that they've done. It was a referral or through a network, or you met them on social media. So maybe you spent 10 minutes, 5 minutes looking around. and now you've set expectations. If they're not holding to those expectations before they start the job, do not award them the job.
Mm-hmm. And then at what part of the process do you know that an error has been made? And then how do you, what do you do once you kind of know that that's happened?
So when you say an error, I'm assuming you mean that
you've hired the wrong person. You've made a mistake.
So you've already awarded them the job. You are working on a 2-family in, say, Danvers, and it's the plumber. Now, the start date on the contract is, June 20th today, and you texted them or called them at 7-8 o'clock this morning. Hey, just wanted to make sure you're on the job today. You probably followed up yesterday as well. Just wanted to make sure tomorrow's the start date. You'll be on the job. What time do you expect to be there? Okay. So then I would text them, and then I would head to the job to make sure they're there. If they're not there and they didn't respond, I would have an issue right then. And if they're saying, oh, we're at supply house getting material. Okay. A lot of my contractors would already have that material in their van or being delivered this morning, but that's fine. You also don't want to start on the wrong tone with them. So understood. I'll swing by later on today. Move on. Keep it a positive thing. Sounds good. I appreciate it. I'll see you later on today. I don't even give them a time. And then I'll call or text or swing by later on. If they're not there, now I tell them, we're off to the wrong start. You didn't show up today. I'll see you there tomorrow morning. Let's walk the job, make sure that, we're on the same page. If they don't show up, they're done. And they breached their contract. So I don't release the first payment until they showed up on the job the first day, usually. Now there's an exception to that when it's a high cost of material up front that they absolutely need before. I'll release 20 to 25% up front when they sign the contract. So that's your risk, but you have a signed contract. Now, if you're into the job, a month into the job, and they stop showing up, there's usually a reason. It's because they're overpaid. Mm-hmm. So if they've already been paid beyond their contractual amount, you've made the mistake, they didn't. Mm-hmm. So you have to hold yourself accountable too, because they will give you every reason. Again, I don't care if it's your best friend. They're going to give you every reason why, hey, I'm finishing up today. Can I have my final payment today? Nope, you're not done. But I'll be done in an hour. Well, you're not done. So I have contractors today that ask me for that, and they're good people. They're people that I trust, rely on, but I'm not going to help them to be in a position that they're not motivated to finish the job. Because as soon as you pay them, they're gone.
Question just came in. What kind of expectations are you setting with them that will help you manage multiple projects? And guys, keep in mind, this is live, so you can't ask questions.
So if I understand the question correctly, it's the same talk track I have with every contractor, because some of our contractors will do multiple jobs for us at one time. A lot of them do, actually. A lot of our contractors do multiple jobs at one time. Some can handle 2, some can handle 10 at once. But what I tell them is this job in Danvers and this job in Springfield, Mass, as far as I'm concerned, that's your only job. Mm-hmm. You can have 10 jobs with us, but every job has to have production every day with a full crew. I don't want to hear, hey, I had to get Springfield done, so I couldn't be in Danvers today. Well, I would have hired a different contractor then, because that other contractor would only have one job and they'd be there every day. So every job needs to be treated as their only job as far as I can see it. Perfect.
All right. And for those of you who are just tuning in, we're going down the top 10 construction topics with Jim. Jim's been with us, like I said, for over 5 years. He helps us, renovate the 100+ homes that we have every single year. Again, if you guys do want to see and meet Jim in person, you want to ask him questions in person, you want to meet us in person for free, make sure that you register to the link below at the very bottom of this post. We're having a 3-hour event next Tuesday at 1 p.m. and we've got 3 or 4 seats left. So make sure that you register today. And keeping with the 4-minute per topic thing, next thing I want to bring up is how do you put together a scope of work that is accurate?
So this is one of my favorite topics because it pretty much encompasses the whole project. It's the most important part. But so I could talk about this for an hour, but just bear with me. I'll try to be quick within my 4 minutes. So I do an A, B, and a C level project, and that's determined up front based on the comp when we're putting the scope together. So an A, just for people that have not logged in before, I've explained it before, but an A is that A level project that you would want to, you would want to live in. Maybe not your absolute dream home, but a very nice product that you'd be proud of to live in, and you want to host Thanksgiving every year. A B is a nice product that most of the neighborhood lives in. Everything's clean, functioning, working, freshly painted, maybe new appliances, updated flooring. A C is financeable only, which would be the house that you're using a lot of caulking and paint, and maybe you updated some carpet, you shampooed some carpet, and everything's functioning. So it's safe and marketable and financeable through ideally FHA. So just putting that as a perspective, I do two things when I do a scope of work. Again, I base it on that comparable property that Tom and his team give me. So I'll look at that, I'll look at the photos of that, and I'll drive by it. Then I'll say, okay, our product is going to be a B level product. I'll go through and when I do the scope of work and I walk through, it takes me about 10 or 15 minutes to walk through the house, and I'll make a decision based on square footage, based on how many baths, how many kitchens. I'll line item everything on a detailed budget and how much each thing is going to cost me to renovate. Then I'll take a square foot number that I've put together over the years that I based it on, I'll base it on our last 100, 150, 200 projects that we do and average them out based on A's, B's, and C's on actuals. And I'll check my math like sixth grade. I'll do the budget, I'll say is, $58,000. And how many square feet is the home? Okay, I'll do my 40, 60, or $90 per square foot. And that would be 90 would be an A, 60 would be a B, and 40 would be a C. Now, those are general numbers, but for us, those are actuals that we've done it for. You're going to say, I can't get it done for that. Our team is a little bit different. There's no profit built in. You have to keep that in mind. We're running this internally for ourselves. So 40, 60, 90, I'll double check my math. If I'm within a reasonable striking distance there, I know I didn't make a mistake. Does that make sense?
It does. So
Okay.
A couple of questions that came in. Ema Gilmore asked, why are quotes for the same job different in general?
So let's give an example that it's flooring. You quoted or the whole job. Okay, I'll do the whole job. And a GC will look at that as maybe they have more cost profit overhead built in than the next person that came in, runs a leaner company. They're more hands-on and they don't need to make the same margin. That's a common difference. I know some people charge a travel expense if they're really busy in their hometown or their home, 2-3 town radius, and you ask them to go to the next state, they're going to charge per diem there that they're going to have to pay their people and put them up in a hotel, things like that. But usually, if you break it down, something simple like granite top, and if you take absolute black granite and absolute black granite with another company, that should be the same dollar amount within $2 a square foot, but it really is built based on profit and overhead is the difference.
All right. And then another one came in. Are you having contractors send you photos of progress? And if so, how often?
So that's a great question. Yes, I do that. But a long time ago, I learned to inspect what you expect, right? So if you expect a certain level of work and a certain level of accountability, you need to inspect it. You need to go on site. I call them site walks. You need to do a site walk on that property. Now, those photos, yes, I get those. And I joke around with the contractors and I call them selective photography. Because I could send you 2 photos of the office I'm in right now, and you would say, wow, that looks like it's freshly rented, beautiful. And I could send you 2 more and you're going to say it needs updating, right? It's where did you take the photos? So did you omit the flooring or just put part of the flooring? So I don't take those for a release of funds. But I will take those as, hey, it looks like things are happening here. Great. Looks like it's time for me to go through again. But FaceTime is the same situation. They can easily skip that there's a missing door, or or they didn't do the tile because the photo doesn't include the vanity or whatever it might be.
All right. Next topic. Best practices for managing contractors.
So I'll say this word a lot, and it's accountability. So holding yourself accountable and holding them accountable will make a job go well. So you have the press and rewind. You did the scope of work. You created a contract. They signed it. You signed it. Everyone agrees. Oftentimes, I'll make sure they agree with the number, and they're comfortable with that, and they're confident in it. So they own it. Now, how do we hold them accountable to making sure the project goes well? You're doing your site walks. You're there, different projects, different timelines, but at least once a week. If you have one project going, I think you should be there every other day. If you go there every day, it becomes challenging for them because there's not enough progress, and really, what are you doing? But if you're there every other day, every third day, then you'll see progress. And if you're not, then you need to have a conversation. What I find is so I go there, I take photos, their status photos or progress photos is what we call them, and we save them to our server. So when I do that, they know I'm taking those, so they know where they go because we've trained them over time. And now they're saying, all right, he can't take a progress photo if there's no progress, right? So that is what I do. And if there is a challenge at all, I say, you know what, I'm going to come back tomorrow. What time works for you? I can do 11, just like a sales call, right? I can do 11 or 1 o'clock. Which one's better for you? I need to walk through with you for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they know if I do that, we have a problem. Like there's not enough progress. And that next day, there'll be 9 people there working, and we'll have a lot of progress.
All right, perfect. You made some good time on that one, but we are over for a couple of questions. So bullet point number 5, do you hire general contracts or sub out your jobs, and why?
I've done both, but for the past, few years, as you do more volume, you learn from your mistakes. And I would recommend hiring a GC with an all-in contract. That's what I do now every time. Have I subbed them out? Yes, for many years. And my life, my production, my budgets, my timelines all improved when I gave a GC a full scope of work with a contract and a budget. And when I say that, that's also a product. They're responsible for all product. Now, with that, we give them a range because some things are hard to find. But for an A-level product, this is the range. B-level, C-level, Glacier Bay or equivalent cabinets, or maybe even a B-level. So an A-level might be JSI or similar. And that's what they understand on the scope of work. And, a white, gray, give them color choices, things like that. But they have an all-in budget that helps you manage a lot easier. You don't have to run around picking up material, bringing material back, sourcing material. That's a challenge. Well, that's their challenge now, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I guess within that question, what issues have you had like trying to sub out the work yourself?
So if you're subbing out the work, there's all the obvious, what I feel are obvious ones, but something that people don't think of is, okay, I'll give them everything, the GC everything, but I know they don't have a great plumber, so I'll use my plumber because he's my best friend. Okay. So you do that, say the numbers work. Okay. So the plumber forgot to run the water line to the bathroom. Happens, everyone plastered because the timeline, there's a lack of communication. Well, now you have to open up that wall that's already been painted. You have to drill through the floor. You have to box things in. Who pays for that? So I don't know if this answers your question, but that's something that will happen. So whatever trade that you select that you're going to sub out will, in the contractor's eyes, that will alter the entire project. They're always going to be waiting for your trade. Any damage that happens is because of your trade, and then you will go over budget because of that. It happens almost every time. It's not worth it. And now you're accountable for all timelines. So how do you hold them accountable for a timeline that you agreed to on their contract if they're waiting on your plumber? You can't. So you basically voided your contract.
All right, cool. And again, guys, I just put up on the screen. I know Jim, he's an exciting guy. We've got, more viewers than normal. So, obviously you guys are really wanting to learn more about the construction part of the business. And I don't blame you because, like I said, I don't cover it. The reason I don't cover it is because I frankly don't know much about it. I'm not an expert in it, and I'm not going to sit up here and talk about something I don't know. But I put up on the screen the URL to meet Jim in person. If you guys do have individual questions, not only myself, my entire team is going to be at our upcoming event in Framingham next Tuesday from 11 to 2 p.m. It's a free event. And I just put a link up on the screen, tinyurl.com/meet Jim in person. Jim, did you ever think you were going to get a URL?
Nope.
It's a big day for you today. You got a tiny URL. Like I said, a couple people have already registered that are listening. So we probably have like 2 spots left. If you think that you might want to come, my recommendation would be just to register, because once we hit the registration numbers, we won't be able to actually even accept anybody anymore. So if you feel like you're getting value out of this, but you would like to see more of Jim, maybe meet him in person, maybe ask him some more questions, just make sure that you register at this link below. All right, moving along. Where are we at now? You're halfway there, Jim. You're doing good. You're pacing yourself well. Question number 6. We kind of already covered this a little bit. How do you determine the level of renovation to do on a property? I think we covered that. Do you feel like you can add anything there, or do you think we properly?
I think we covered that. If anyone had questions with the ABC or the 90, 60, 40 dollars per square foot or the comp, those really cover everything out of those 3.
Yeah, and if you guys are just jumping in and you do want to know like how we determine the level of renovation on a property, just skip back to the beginning of this video because we did cover it. And I also do want to point out right now that if you guys do have questions, because this is a live stream, type them into the comment section and we'll answer them. All right, so number 7, tips to get projects done on time. Time specifically, how do you get things done on the right timeline?
So I feel like we've covered that. If I put a few of the last questions together, I think tidbits of that have covered this question and answer. But a snapshot I could give would be, you have the contract that has a start date and a completion date. It also has payment schedules. So that payment schedule is up to you as the owner project manager. It's based on a goal. So they're getting paid on a goal. So if that timeline and that goal and that payment line up, you will be on time. You're also going there doing site walks, contractor walks. Again, that's what I call them. You can call them anything you want, but site walk is on your time, not theirs. It's not pre-scheduled. You go when it makes sense for your schedule, but that they know that's happening sporadically. So they will have people there. If people aren't there, you're making the calls when you're there. You're taking a couple of pictures, sending them over. If you have a challenge, you're doing a contractor walk, which is usually the next day. It's probably not reasonable to get them there that day. Sometimes, but usually not reasonable. So you're doing that contractor walk. That will catapult some progress. And then you have to set a new expectation there. You know what? You're about a week behind. Looks like you're making good progress today. We need to keep up this pace and get ahead. So if you can keep this crew in here for the next week or 2, and then you can tail back to your 5-person crew rather than a 9, that would be great. And you're not releasing money until they're at that goal anyway. So keeping them on time is basically holding yourself accountable to do your job. Your job is do not release money unless the work's done. They will work faster for that money. If you release the money, they will not show up, or they'll drag their feet. It'll be a fill-in job.
All right, and as a follow-up to that, I've got on the screen now. What are acceptable reasons? Because not every project goes on the according to timeline. what are some acceptable reasons that a project would go over your timeline, and how do you kind of handle that?
So there's the ones that we have up, up in the nightmare wall over here. That would be conservation committees, COVID. Like when COVID first happened, we weren't allowed to work. So period. You couldn't work for a little while in certain cities and towns. That was unforeseen. So I can't charge or hold a contractor accountable for that, because they, to their best efforts, couldn't fix that. Conservation committees, they might meet once a month, once a quarter, twice a year. And there might have been unknown conservation issues because you were doing a septic system. It would be the unknowns that, not when you open up a wall and there's some rotted wood and a leak. That's an acceptable unknown that is going to take, maybe set things back a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
But permitting, I try to get ahead of permitting, because the cities and towns usually take up to 30 days to review the permit application. So we try to apply for that up front. That can save you 30 days. Septic design, takes maybe a couple of months. And that would be something that, once you're under contract and you feel good, title's good, you might want to start that process. Risk reward there. You're going to pay some engineering, but it'll save you time. But acceptable for being late on time would be broken pipes in the winter. You made your best effort. Someone was there every day. Heat was on. The system, for some reason, failed overnight. Pipes broke. It's going to take you a week to clean up that mess, repair drywall, and make the corrections. That would be acceptable, because it's not something that you could control.
All right, cool. Now on to the next one. And this is something that I have talked about, because this is something that, from a managerial perspective, I do understand. It's maybe not necessarily fully construction related, but what are the types of projects that, if you were an investor today, whether it's fix and flip or buy and hold or whatnot, like what types of renovations would you want to avoid based on your past experience, and why?
So conservation, again, I've done a lot of houses, a lot of projects in conservation areas. And I mean, we actively are doing some. I wouldn't say stay away from them 100%, but definitely be aware of what that entails. That is something that I would say, don't do it unless you're 100% confident and you have time before you close on the property to get ahead of it. 1800s and before, if the house was built.
Man, you just stole my thunder. I was just about to say that. I had a guy, because I did a post the other day, and by the way, we are looking to partner with people on deals. So if you guys have an off-market deal that you want us to do the construction for, and you want us to put up the money on, we'll do a profit share split with you. But I did a post on my own Facebook account the other day asking that, saying, hey, does anybody have any deals they'd want to partner on? Somebody sent me this deal, and I looked at it and I go, oh man, house was built in 1700, huge house. Like, I was just like, oh no, like, I can't believe this person bought this property. But go ahead.
Because often those are houses that you love. You might, it depends what your style is, but they're usually nice homes, or they were nice homes.
Yep.
But if you
were nice homes 200 years ago.
Correct.
And they could be nice homes if you put in $300,000 today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And we've done those, and we wish we didn't. Yeah. And they're beautiful homes when they're done, and you feel great until you don't make any money. So stay away from the 1800s and before homes. Plus, there's usually not conservation. There's usually historic issues with that that are tied to it. So there's a lot of eyes on the property. There's maybe a lot of restrictions that you can and can't do. Very large homes usually go hand in hand. Actually, for some reason, in the 1800s, the houses were enormous.
Yeah.
And, the Victorians, the old four corner colonials, beautiful homes, but the amount of detail was incredible because labor was inexpensive and product was inexpensive, and it was all hand done. To replicate that today, or even just to repair that today, the cost is incredible, and the square footage. So take my $40, $60, or $90 a square foot. Well, throw it out the window if you're doing something in the 1800s, because it's going to be much more expensive. But Take that times 4,000. The budget will never work. It'll never work on a flip. Especially on an older house, because you're getting into framing, insulation. It's just not to code. Mm-hmm. So that would be my biggest thing. 1800s houses and very large homes usually hurt us.
So when I look at, we talk a lot about the Inner Circle coaching program and kind of some of the stuff that we help people with. There's so many benefits of joining. Honestly, if I had to say what's the biggest benefit, in my opinion, it's what to not do and how do you avoid mistakes. When that person sent me that property, I looked at it and I felt so bad for the person, because I know at the other end of that renovation is likely $100,000 loss. And I know that, and it hurts me because I've done those. Like, we've done those. Like, just thinking about like the property, I think was it Newberry that we did that was Rowley. Yeah. But I mean, we could go on and on about different projects that we've done like that. And it's like the ultimate, like almost like newbie mistake, where it's like you have this home that could be so nice when it's done and it's big and it can be beautiful. But at the end of the day, it's the worst project you could potentially get yourself into. And it's also the project that's going to be typically the most available. So it's like when we talk about not being able to get good deals on the multiple listing service, it's properties like this that are available that will present themselves on paper as deals that you end up losing money on. And one of the most important things that we help people with is to avoid those mistakes. Those are huge, costly mistakes. I mean, on that one that we just referenced, how long from start to finish was that project?
I tried to block it out. I think that one, I drive by it often too. It's a beautiful house, but I think that was probably a year and a half.
Yeah. So a year and a half. And this is like, we're a company that we can withstand that, right? Like we do large volume. We've been in business for a while. That one stung for us. If you're a newer investor and it takes you a year and a half to do a project you thought was going to take you 6 months, and you lose $100,000 rather than making $80,000, like that can knock you completely out of the business. So one thing that I want to recommend to every single person who's listening right now is to schedule a one-on-one call with me at www.agentinvestorinnercircle.com. And we can do a free strategy session. What I do on those sessions is we talk about where you're at today, where you want to be 5 to 10 years into the future, and we create a plan to help you get there. I treat it completely like a free coaching session, and that's what we do. We spend 90% of the time talking about, how we can help you, and specifically on that call. I want you to leave that call with the plan in hand. If you're interested, it's a one-time thing. Like, it's not something you can register for every week. If you've never done one of these calls with me and you're interested in getting a free strategy session, do that today at www.agentinvestorinnercircle.com. Okay, on to the next topic. What advice would you give to someone starting out in the investing world, I guess in general?
So in general, follow a system. So a long time ago, and I still say it, is don't break your own rules. So if you have your own rules that work for you, or that, you learn some from Tom, you've learned some from your mistakes, learning some from this call, don't break your own rules. So have systems in place that you follow. Some of the other things that I would do, that I met with someone recently that, fortunate for them, they did really well on a flip, and they work hard, good person, good group. And they looked at a few flips, and then they bought one that was kind of the picture of what you should buy, I think, for your first flip. Ideally, it's a ranch or a cape that is in overall respectable condition, but very dated. It needs some work. It's dated. It needs paint, that kind of stuff. But it's not a massive house. Try to get something like, give or take, 1,400 square feet, cape or a ranch, that was like grandma's house that the family's now selling. That's the ideal first flip, because you can't get in too much trouble if your numbers work out, right?
Yep.
And you'll learn a lot from that if you follow your own rules. Be conservative. Don't start opening walls. Just repair everything. Make it look good. that would be the advice I would do. And then again, if I look back, just do it. If it works on paper, and you've kind of crossed your T's that it's not in the 1800s, it's not a small camp shed looking house that doesn't have a foundation in the middle of the woods somewhere with no water. You blocked out those, and it's grandma's house that your friend called you about, and the numbers work. Do it. Do the deal. And if you don't have the funding, Tom has a solution for that. And like that was a challenge for most people. So that's I would say do it and be conservative.
Yeah. And again, to me, the best way to be conservative, like even if you hated us and you don't want to work with us, find a mentor that you can run a deal by. A mentor that does this, that's aggressive, that won't kill a deal that's a deal, but will kill a deal that's a mistake. So when Jim says be conservative, to me, being conservative is like having somebody in your back pocket that you can go to, that you can ask a question on to prevent you from making that mistake. But when you get the green light, when it checks out for you and you feel like you've got the green light on your own mind, then it checks out for your board of advisors. Now it's like, okay, you get a double green light there, go all in.
Agreed. That's what I meant by conservative. Because if you look back, Tom, on all the deals that you've passed on when you were new in your career,
yep,
I bet you would wish that you did a lot of them.
Most of them, yeah. And I think the challenging part there, though, and why it's so important that you get a mentor, is there's a fine line between what you just said and being like, okay, I'm going to do it, and then doing the wrong one.
Yeah.
And it's like in the whole, right? What you just said is true. Like if I look back and say there were 50 deals I passed on, probably 45 of them would have made a good profit and 5 of them would have lost money. But why it's important to get that mentor or to get somebody like that's there. The conservative part is like, how do you kill those 5 that were the problem? And why it's an issue when somebody's kind of at the beginning phase is like one bad deal could knock you out of the business. So you want to make sure that that first or second or third deal is the right deal to do.
Yep.
And then on wrapping on this, let's talk about the basics about how our partnership opportunities work from a construction standpoint. So I've talked a lot and posted a lot about like, hey, obviously we're out there, we're looking for deals. We spend a bunch of money on marketing to find deals. We do mailers and pay-per-click and TV and like all this stuff, right, to find deals. So finding deals in this market is one of the most challenging things. But agents come across opportunities all the time. So we have this partnership program that we've worked out where all an agent or even a wholesaler needs to do is just bring us a deal, and we're willing to put up the money and we're willing to do the construction and basically do a profit share split with somebody for bringing us the deal. So I've explained that on, countless, times. And I think a lot of people understand that in general, but talk through like what the involvement is of the partner, how you treat those deals, what they look like, what the responsibilities of the partners are.
Okay. So I'm only talking from the construction side there, but really the outline of it would be you as the partner would bring the deal. Tom would evaluate a comp, make sure the deal makes sense. At that point, I would go out there. I would do a scope of work. I'd prefer if we did that. I mean, if we do it together or if you already did one, that's great. We can talk it through on site or we can talk it through over the phone, and we agree to a number with a general scope. And I think I'm almost batting 1,000 on agreeing within a $5,000 range on the partners upfront idea of their budget and the scope. So that's been good. And so after we agree to the number, the general scope, we would close on it. I would bring in the team. The expectation at that point would be I would take it from closing date through ready to remarket. And I always, conceptually say I pass the keys back to Tom, right? And the brokerage team. So from the time we close to the time that it's market ready and the pre-market stuff is ready, I would manage that project. I can keep you in the loop. But again, if I go back to the beginning, process is really important. And we have to stick to that scope of work and that budget. So setting an expectation right now, kind of like I do with the contractors, would be let us do the hard work. Let us help with the financing. Let us do the construction. I'm pretty confident our team will get it done in a faster timeline, and we'll execute on that budget and that timeline that we agreed to. And not that in an effort not to be rude and sound rude, it's in everyone's best interest for us to execute that and hold me accountable to it. Hold me accountable as if I'm your contractor. That am I on time? Am I on budget? The budget is my responsibility anyway, but am I on time? Because that's important. And we are, I don't want to say always on time, but if we missed, full disclosure, we just missed on a deal that we were over budget by $3,000. Well, $3,000 to me, I was kind of upset about that. And I looked into it today and I found out why, because I forgot. And we had to replace a heating system because we had broken pipes. So really, we would have been about $5,000 under budget on that deal. That was something that I consider, somewhat not a controllable. But holding me accountable to the budget and to the timeline is important. But changing scope in the middle of the project, coming in every day and talking to the contractors can't happen because that's not part of the process. And then those contractors are going to be unclear. So basically, let me run with the construction and then take the check at the end, and we'll go on to the next one.
Yeah, and Henry just said currently doing a deal with Tom and his team, learning a lot. And yeah, that was one. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I think Henry linked up with us maybe less than a month ago, somewhere in that range. And, I always say to people, like, agents, you never know when you're going to come across a deal. You literally never know. It could be tomorrow. It could be a year from now. It could be 2 years from now. It could be a month from now. But you're going to come across opportunities. And Henry, I met with him maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago max. And, all of a sudden, he sends me a message on Facebook and he's like, I got this property in Quincy that maybe it's a deal. And he starts sending me details and telling me the numbers. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I mean, I know I've been doing this for so long that someone can give me like 3 sentences and I kind of know whether it's a deal or not. And I said, you know what? I think that one could be a deal. We went out there. That was the one in Quincy, Jim. I don't know if you remember it or not, but it was.
Which one?
I don't even know the address in Quincy, but we
Single
just.
family?
Yeah, the single family.
Yeah. Yep. That
we just locked up. And so I don't even know how Henry found that. I don't know if it's somebody that referred him the deal. I don't know if it was a client. I believe, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was another agent that told him about the deal. So this is the thing, like, and I could teach a whole class on agents finding deals, but a lot of times, like, most agents aren't out there looking for fix and flip opportunities because they don't want to do them, or it's going to take them away from their business, or they don't have time, or they don't have construction expertise, or they don't want to put up the money. But with us, you don't have to worry about any of that. All you have to worry about is anytime anybody tells you, hey, I know about this property that's beat up and maybe, it's good for a flipper. All you have to do is literally refer us that deal. Like, we went on the appointment with him. We helped him get the contract signed. We did the scope of work. We're putting up the money, and now we're going to do a profit split with him. And all he had to do was just be aware. And agents can come across, 2 or 3 deals like this in a year. They can come across one, or maybe they can come across a deal every other year. At the end of the day, the most important thing with partnering with us is, like, you put up none of your own money for risk. Nothing out of pocket. We manage the whole construction piece of it, and then you get a check at the end. So the biggest difference is, like, let's just say in that example, Henry couldn't even have listed the property, right? Because it was his friend's, deal. But even if you could list the property, maybe you make at most, 3% of whatever that sale price was going to be. I think it was a $400,000 purchase. So maybe you'd make 12 grand, maybe, and then you'd have to go through the whole listing process or whatnot. And he's likely going to end up making, $25,000, $30,000, $35,000 once this is all said and done. I'm going to tell you guys another story that that recently happened. Again, another kind of like crazy one where somebody, who we've been working with for over a year now, they came across a deal. This one is a crazy story. I mean, literally, like, it blows my mind. So we had an agent that was going to sign on with our company. They didn't end up signing on. They came across a fix and flip opportunity, wholesaled it for $5,000 to somebody that we work with. That person turned around and is doing a profit share split with us. That deal in Haverhill, Jim, that condo.
Oh yeah, yep.
So that deal came from a agent that could have done a 50-50 split with us, but instead made a $5,000 wholesale fee. And I immediately reached out to the person after the fact and go, dude, what are you doing here? Like, why wouldn't you bring that to us? Like, you could have been the 50-50 partner. Don't know why. Can't explain it. No good reason. So instead of making 30,000, they made 5. And it's neither here nor there, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter. But like, the biggest thing with agents, or even just a wholesaler in general, is like, keep your eyes open. Talk to other agents. Ask them if they have anything coming up. Make sure that when you're going out with your SOI, like, that you come across, that if you come across anything. Another one that we did, recently, it was just a listing appointment that one of an agent that works with us went out to the property, didn't need a ton of work, failed septic. So automatically it had to go to an investor. They brought it to us. The seller actually declined our offer. This is like going back to December, over 6 months ago at this point. They declined our offer. I thought the deal was dead. 2 months ago, they come back to us and they say, hey, they're ready, to work with us. So, so at the end of the day, it's just all about kind of like keeping your eyes and ears open. And this doesn't have to be like your entire business. This can be a small fraction of your business. This can be something where you do one deal a year, where you make another $20,000 or $30,000 a year, pay your mortgage for the year by doing a deal with us, type of thing. Just by keeping your eyes and ears open. And deals are scarce right now. That's why we're willing to do this. Like, we wouldn't have done this 4 or 5 years ago. But deals are so scarce right now that we've got capital, we've got the contractors lined up, and we're ready to kind of do this. And one last point I'm going to put up here in the captions. Oh, there was another question that came in, but I want to
and there are a few, I think.
Yeah, there are a few that came in. So before I go into the questions, and keep throwing them out there, before I go into the questions, I just want to say, like, sometimes people, they come across opportunities, but they don't know if we're the right people to partner with, or they haven't met us yet in person. Take time out of your day to register for this upcoming event in Framingham. Even if you're not close to Framingham, I get it. Look, I'm not close to Framingham either. It's going to be an hour for me. Then I have a doctor's appointment in Nashua, so this is not going to be a convenient day for me either. Just go and meet us, even if you're not interested in the topic. Register, meet us, get a feel for whether or not we would be the type of people that you'd want to do business with. And then the next time you come across an opportunity, make sure that you reach out to us. So I do have this link up here, for the final kind of registration. And probably after today, we won't be able to register any more people, because again, the room fixed 50 people. We literally just gave the food order. There's going to be 50 lunches there. So somebody said, let's see, where's the other question? I saw another question come in. Somebody has a 3-family for me. Text me. I'm sorry. Send me a message on Facebook. The best way to get me is to send me a message on Facebook. I can't see who it is. It just says Facebook user. So send me a message on Facebook. I can answer the question within 5 minutes on whether or not it will be a deal that will work for both of us. If you can send me like the address, you can send me the condition, if you have pictures and what the person is looking for. If you haven't gone on the appointment yet, we can go on the appointment with you, help you get the deal closed and all that good stuff. But I don't think I see any other questions kind of coming in. And again, we covered 10 of the, most critical topics when it comes to construction, and Jim breezed through them. If I was anybody who's on here that hasn't really done a project yet, or is thinking about doing a project, my best recommendation if I was doing this all over again, is to partner with us on your first or second deal, learn as much as you can, soak up the information, and then consider whether or not you want to do the construction yourself. Most of you guys probably don't know this, but I have 2 partners in my business. I partnered with them because I never wanted to learn the construction part of the business. I still don't know the construction part of the business. I feel like for me, my best use of my time and the skill that I'm best at is finding deals, sales, and raising capital. That's what I'm good at. I don't want to, like Jim's an expert in construction. I don't want to be an expert in construction. So for me, if I were you guys, I would say take this as an opportunity. I didn't have an opportunity to partner with people that have already done 1,000, fix and flip deals when I got started. So the question was, do you work in Westchester County in New York? Not yet. So we will flip a home in every state in New England. New York might be the next area. That's a bit far. Jim would probably kill me if we started talking about New York today, but nothing in New York just yet. Somebody said, who creates the scope and picks out the materials to use in the renovation? So I'll answer that. And this is a really simple one to answer. You guys want us to do all the construction. You don't like picking out the materials. Like when you're running this like a business, picking out the materials and things like that are not the value add. Like you want as much as possible to renovate the house to the comps that you're doing. So we have a very efficient way of renovating properties. We pick out everything and we will propose what the budget is. We're going to do the scope. We're going to give you the budget. If you have the expertise to do that yourself, we're more than happy to kind of compare notes and just to make sure that we're on the same page. But we're going to treat this project like, it is a project that we own. We're putting up the money for it. And we're going to do the scope and we're going to pick out the materials and renovate the house, the same way that we would if it, again, it is our property. So, Jim, I don't know if you want to elaborate at all on that, but.
Exactly what Tom said. And again, that's why we have that system. And that's why I was very direct with the approach, because the more involvement from other people, the slower the project will take. We have to, run everything by everybody every time. It'll take double the time and that'll cost us all money. So that doesn't work. As far as creating the scope and picking out the material, I do. And we have templates that we use, color templates, A, B, and C, product templates, A, B, and C, and those are within a range or similar. So if it's, like I said, JSI cabinet or similar, Glacier Bay or similar, depends on the scope. And, the colors, the products, the lights sometimes are hard to find. We contractor grade, or is it LED upgraded? And that's what we call it. And if I'm not going to make the contractor go to 8 Home Depots to pick up the same, the appropriate light, it has to be or similar.
Yeah.
So
and we get like, when you first start or you do your first fix and flip deal, like it's fun to think about all this stuff. It's fun to think about like this cabinet or that cabinet or this faucet or that faucet. And we understand that. And we understand that in a lot of cases, like people would love the opportunity to be very involved, but it's not effective or efficient for either party. And what we do is we come in with our expertise. We don't have to think about like what kitchen sink we're using because we're using the same thing on 100 other houses every single year. So the best way to kind of think about this is a very, very passive way to flip a home. And if that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. You're going to, at the end of this, the people that we've partnered with in the past are like, I cannot believe I just made X amount of dollars for basically just being aware of an opportunity rather than going out and listing a home or just, getting a referral from another agent that told me about a deal. You guys are all co-broking with so many other people. You talk to agents all day long. You belong to so many different offices and office meetings. Hey, I got this coming soon, all that kind of stuff. Use that as an opportunity to grab a deal that, you had no business even getting involved in. And now you're making $20 or $30 or $40,000 on a fix and flip without putting up any money or doing the construction or anything like that. So it's just another way, that we help people and help ourselves. Like, let's not kid ourselves here. Like, this is a profitable thing for us too. When an agent brings us a deal like this, we're not putting up, marketing dollars. We're not sending our full-time payroll guys out there driving, the cars and paying for gas and going on appointments. We're getting a deal brought right to us. So it's truly a win-win, and we're helping more agents, achieve the goal of financial freedom through investing in real estate with all of these different things. So again, last kind of thing up there, I've got the link, the tinyurl.com/meet Jim in person. I would, again, encourage you guys to register today. The event is free, and use it as an opportunity. I know that it can be a long drive or a time commitment, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but at the end of the day, guys, it's as simple as this. Sales will make you a living. Like, you can make a living in sales, but if any year was the year to say, like, sales aren't 100% concrete, it's this year. Transactions in our market in the greater Boston area, including New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New England, are down 40% this year. Nationally, they're down close to 50%. You could be doing every single thing in the world that you're supposed to be doing as an agent right now, and your sales are most likely down 20 to 50%. Why? Because of where the market's at. So the reason to invest, besides all of the, the typical fundamental reasons, but one of the biggest reasons to invest in real estate, or to, make sure you come across a fix and flip, or make sure you're investing your money passively, or buying a short-term rental, or making sure that you're buying, a smaller multifamily, is to have another source of income other than what is always going to be an inconsistent source. Being a real estate agent, there's a reason they call it being on the real estate roller coaster. That term is specifically for real estate agents. I didn't make up that term. It's just a fact. Like, your income as an agent is always going to be going up and down and up and down. Take control of it by investing in real estate, and take the first step by meeting us in person, getting more accustomed, learning from, what, we would, I'll be as honest as I can, shameless, comment. I think we're the best at residential investing in New England. I don't think there's a second, right? So learn from the best, come out, meet us, take the time. I know it's 3 hours. I know it's in Framingham, and that's not close, but it's a free event, tinyurl.com/meet Jim in person. Jim, you did a phenomenal job today. I want to commend you.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you for taking the time. And if you guys want to see more of Jim in the future, type into the comment section that you want to see more of Jim. If we get enough of that, we might bring him back on again.
Well, this was humbling.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.